when we say we don't consider the children, but then tell miserable adults to stay together for the sake of the children, are we considering the children?
I
So
would,
I have. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm not gonna give you a speech like Trigger Mike's about to, but I would say the kids got a better chance at life when they got both parents in the household.
Yeah,
So
a better. Okay.
yeah, it's real weird, right? So we get in the weeds and we make this conversation very gray. And if men are actually going to take back the community, as women are so very asking us to, or at least it's necessary that we do, you got to understand that as men, we're very black and white. And in order for us to execute things properly, we need to be that way. All right. So there's a lot of gray that could be said about staying for the kids, so to speak, but it's black and white, right? Like we have to talk about it as black and white. I understand that it can be damaging, but as adults, like let's say, it's a personal situation for me or something. As adults, somebody's just not getting over their ego, right? You're not adhering to your vows well enough. If you can't make it through that situation to put aside your differences enough to make it healthy for the children, right? We're acting like as if an effect has no cause, right? We're acting like marriages just blow up for some reason and two people start inching out towards another. No, no, you made a purposeful, like an intent decision to turn away from each other and keep walking in the opposite direction. So I'm telling you now, like I'm making a promise to my wife. I'm not doing that. I know I can get in my feelings about stuff. I'm gonna have to turn around because of the kids and keep walking toward you, even if you're walking away. I'm right on your I'm on your ass. Like, where you going? Where you think you leaving? I'm not doing it. You see what I'm saying? So that is what I mean when I say like you have to stay for the children, but you also have to get over your ego. You have to not submit to your selfish desires. You have to let that thing that you care about so much go. You got to forgive that person cheated. All this stuff that it says in your vows, you got to actually do it. So it's not just
Miss
staying. Yeah, go ahead.
Lady Mother, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you you have to do this and you have to do that. And at the end of the day, it's your choice. But you just gotta understand the value in when you make sacrifices like that for the betterment of your children. That is a trait that I think is necessary for children that's actually lacking when they become adults. Being able to show that a representation of you miss sacrificing, miss the things that you don't want to do. You know, you make a sacrifice, you showing them how to do that, the importance of that. I think it's very valuable, you know, whenever they become adults and they actually go out in life and they know how to make sacrifices to make things happen. A lot of them mostly pick it up whenever they're like working and stuff. They're willing to make these sacrifices in order to stay at a job or anything like that, or in the military to make sure the mission is complete. They'll deal with the asshole sergeants, you know, all day. I think if we do that for our children, it'll be meaningful for them in the future. That's why I'm about duty and sacrifice.
Yeah, and Lady
So,
Mocha,
If both agree.
I'm sorry. This
Go
is
ahead.
a stat that should shock you. So this is one of the reasons. Like I see what they're saying in
oh
the
God,
chat. Say
stats.
you can't make someone stay with you and all. But even looking at the stats, right? They asked women who have been married at least two or more times, do you regret leaving your first husband? I think it was 65% of them said yes. You see what I'm saying? Those are the type of stats that I look at to say you rushed into that
Okay,
divorce.
that's actually a great stat, and I don't like stats.
I was
So
going to
who
say,
got
so
that one?
that is the basis of what I'm saying. You turn away way too quickly. You decide to call it quits way too quickly, and the children can sometimes they are the anchor, right? To say I'm going to stick it out, but you should always be intent about trying to stay in your relationship.
So
So I want
I'm
to
gonna
add
say,
something.
oh,
So let
go
me
ahead.
just jump in before we kind of pivot a little bit, because I think the question you asked was really specific and that's really important about two miserable people, right? And
Mhm.
oftentimes, and I don't know if you've noticed this or anyone else can speak on this as well, people who are miserable are doing one of two things. Typically, they are either being overly independent and avoidant of their relationship, or
Mhm.
they're being overly codependent. right? And so typically, if you're miserable outside of abuse, right, we're talking generalities, outside of the extremities, there's somebody who's not fulfilling their own needs and making it somebody else's responsibility. And so if it is two miserable people, they need to sit down and have a conversation about what will fulfill them, and not so much what's the exit plan of this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So my question was kind of playing devil's advocate because I grew up with my mom and my stepdad. My biological father was murdered when I was younger. So my stepdad is the only father I knew. Um, was the household always perfect? No. But seeing my mom and dad work through it definitely kind of subconsciously taught me, despite the shit that I saw, because it was a lot of stuff, right? Part of my French, but that, when people love each other, they go through things, they stick together, they work through it. Now, I do feel like it's important to have that. You know what I mean? It builds character. It's very important, especially once you decide to get married, to commit to that for a lifetime and not lean on this worldly idea of divorce, right? Um, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that people that decide to stay for the kids are not staying for the kids, they're staying for the optics. You spoke on ego, and people once married, unless they've, I feel like if you go and Mr. Express, I feel like you could probably speak to this, and I mean this completely respectfully, but when you are married, getting a divorce is a failure. It's you didn't meet your goal. Like you didn't stay with the person that you chose forever. So if you go file for divorce and end up having a divorce, I mean, that's looking bad on the two people, the spouses. So people say all the time, oh, we're staying together for the kids. No, y'all are staying together because y'all don't want to look like failures. And the kids feel
Yep.
that. So, there's two sides of that.
Well,
That's all I'm saying.
can I let me
Yeah. Oh, Richard, go ahead.
let
Richard,
me
go ahead. I
ask a
was
couple
going to
things.
just answer it real quick. I
Well,
was
you
going to
have a
answer it real
real.
quick. Go
I
ahead.
can go after you if you want me to. Go ahead. I'll wait for you. Go
Okay.
ahead.
I'm going to say this real quick. So you're absolutely right. I felt like I was a failure. It was a failure. And I had a lot of lies and a lot of feelings that I was responsible for. And that meant a lot to me. So this is the analogy that someone told me about years ago, and I apply it to this. It's like chewing glass and swallowing it. When you bite into the glass, there's pain. When you swallow it, it's cutting you and there's pain. When you digest it, it's pain. When you pass it, it's pain. And when you leave a relationship after being there for 21 years, that's exactly what it's like. And guess what? Over all the years, you're still healing from that. And there's still things that I'm healing from after all of that. It's not something that, like, I'm bragging about, like, forget her, this and that, because she's the mother of my children. I still respect her and I still have love for her. Am I in love with her? No, but I still have love for her. But there's still a pain that we both went through when we made that decision. And yes, it was a failure. It was a huge failure. And that's something that I actually have discussions with my three boys who are men now. Before they walk into a relationship, I tell them the truth about what we did, how we did it, mistakes I made. I really don't talk about their mom. That's one thing I never do. I'm never going to talk about their mom in front of the boys. That's a no-no. And if there's any men that's out there doing it, I'm coming to smack you upside your head. You never, ever discount a woman in front of their boys. That's garbage. But I never did that. But I always talked about where I messed up. So you're absolutely right. Your commentary is on point.